I'm Minnie. The other day, I got a text from Lily, Leo's cousin. We'd met at various family gatherings and were on friendly terms. Her message read, "Hey, Minnie, can we talk? It's about Leo. There's something you should know." I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to avoid more pain and the reminder of him. But there was something in her words that made me curious and a bit scared. I replied, asking if we could meet for coffee. That night, I barely slept, my mind racing with possibilities. The next afternoon, I met Lily at a downtown cafe. She was already there, sitting in a corner booth, her hands tightly wrapped around her mug. When she saw me, her eyes darted towards the door and then back to me, looking nervous and scared. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, stirring her coffee even though there was nothing left to stir. "No problem," I said as I slid into the seat across from her. "What's going on?" She took a deep breath. "I don't know how to say this without hurting you," she said. My chest tightened. "Just say it," I said softly. She looked me straight in the eyes. "Minnie, Leo is engaged." The word hit me like a punch in the gut. I blinked, not quite believing what I was hearing. "He's been engaged for 6 months," she continued. "To a woman he works with. They're getting married in the spring, April." I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. Engaged for 6 months while we were living together, splitting rent and sharing our lives. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. "You're sure?" I whispered. She nodded. "He told the family back in May and asked everyone not to post anything online. He said they wanted to keep it private." My stomach churned. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you deserve to know," she said quickly. "What he did to you is wrong, and it's been eating at me since I realized you didn't know." I swallowed hard. "Does she know about me?" I asked. Lily shook her head. "No, he told her he lived with a male roommate, some college friend who needed a place." I let out a broken laugh. "So he was lying to both of us?" "Yes," she said. "He travels for work a lot, 3 weeks out of every month. That's how he managed it. When he was gone, he was with you. When he was back, he had excuses." I felt physically sick. "How did no one tell me? How did your whole family know and say nothing?" She looked down at her cup. "We thought you knew," she admitted. "We thought maybe you were okay with it or that you'd broken up and decided to stay roommates for financial reasons." My hands started shaking. "Everyone knew about her, not about me," I said slowly. "Yes," Lily said. "You were separate. He kept you separate, compartmentalized." That word felt like a death sentence. I sat there, trying to breathe, trying to process the magnitude of the deception. For 6 months, he'd been planning a wedding with someone else while I was budgeting groceries and imagining our future. Why would he do this? I asked finally. Lily hesitated. "I think he liked having security. You were stable, reliable, helped with bills, and made his life easier. She has money and connections, the future he wanted." I nodded slowly. I wasn't surprised, just devastated. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I thought you should know the truth." I thanked her and paid for both our coffees, even though she protested. When I walked out of that cafe, the city seemed different, sharper. For the first time since the breakup, I felt a searing anger burn through the numbness. It all started 2 years ago. I was at a mutual friend's barbecue on a late, spring Saturday afternoon. The sun made everyone look more beautiful, and the air smelled of charcoal and fresh, cut grass. That's where I met Leo. He was standing near the grill, laughing, holding a paper plate like he didn't know what to do with it. When our eyes met, I felt that cliché jolt, that warm feeling in my chest that made me think the universe was on my side. Leo was so easy to talk to. He was funny without trying and smart without showing off. He had this way of looking at me when I spoke, like what I said actually mattered. We talked for hours that day, and I kept finding myself drawn back to him. Before I left, he asked for my number, and that evening, he texted me. It was simple and straightforward, made it home. Had fun talking to you. It felt mature and safe, like a good sign. A week later, we had our first date. We went to a casual Italian place for dinner and then had drinks downtown. We talked until the bartender gave us that tired look, indicating it was time to go. When he walked me to my car, he kissed me, and it felt so right. By the third month, we were practically living together. It just happened naturally. He'd stay at my place most nights, keep his clothes in my closet, and have his own drawer in the bathroom. It felt like we were sharing a life. By the 6th month, he suggested we get a place together. We're already together every day, and we're basically paying double for no reason. It just makes financial sense, he said, scrolling through apartment listings on his phone. I heard something else in his words. I heard I'm choosing you and let's build a future. So I agreed right away. We found a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a modern building in a good neighborhood. It had parking and was close to both our jobs. The lobby smelled like new paint and expensive candles. Moving in that first day, I was genuinely excited, thinking this was the start of our life together. For the next year and a half, we lived like a committed couple. We split rent and utilities evenly. We took turns cooking. He made these elaborate chicken bowls on Wednesdays, and I did pasta on Mondays. We watched our shows together every night. We went to each other's family events, and my parents adored him. My mother would call him just to ask how he was or to share a recipe. My friends liked him too and started inviting us as a unit. I was already thinking about the next steps, not rushing but just imagining a future with him. I'd looked at rings online a few times, not because I wanted to propose, but because I'd caught myself daydreaming about him proposing. I even started saving money in a future plans account. But then, cracks started to appear. One Tuesday evening in late October, I got home from an exhausting day. I was looking forward to collapsing on the couch with him, but he was already there, scrolling through his phone. He barely looked up when I walked in. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag and kicking off my shoes. His greeting was flat, like I was just a roommate passing by. I went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, and tried not to read too much into it. When I came back and asked what he wanted for dinner, he said he'd already eaten. "When?" I asked casually. "Earlier," he replied. "With who?" I asked. That's when he finally looked up, and there was something in his expression I couldn't quite place. It wasn't guilt, more like irritation. "Does it matter?" he said. I laughed because it seemed ridiculous. "No, I'm just asking," I said. "A friend," he said curtly. "Which friend?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "You don't know her." The word "her" hit me like a stone. "Huh?" I said slowly. "I didn't know you had friends I haven't met." "I have lots of friends you haven't met," he snapped and then went back to his phone. That night, something felt off. He barely spoke, and the apartment felt like there was a wall between us. I tried to tell myself I was overthinking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Over the next week, small things started to add up. He started angling his phone away from me, taking calls in the bedroom, and going out more often without giving details. When I asked, he had vague excuses like traffic or lost track of time. On a Friday night, I decided to test the waters. I made a real dinner, lit a candle, and put on his favorite playlist. When he walked in, he seemed surprised. He ate but said very little. When his phone buzzed, he checked it instantly, and his whole posture changed. He stood up and said he was taking the call. "Who is it?" I asked lightly. "Just work stuff," he said without meeting my eyes, and then went into the bedroom. By Sunday, my chest felt tight. I kept replaying our relationship, looking for signs I'd missed. I hated myself for thinking that maybe I was wrong, that I was overreacting. The following Monday evening, we were sitting at the kitchen table. I'd made pasta, a simple comfort meal. He was picking at his food, and his phone was face down beside his fork. "Can we talk about something?" I asked. He looked up, his expression guarded. "Sure," he said. For a second, I saw him calculating how to handle the conversation. "Are we okay?" I asked. His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "I mean us," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "You've been distant and secretive, and I don't want to guess. If something's wrong, I'd rather you just tell me." He leaned back in his chair and exhaled like I'd exhausted him. "Nothing's wrong," he said. "Leo," I tried again, softer. "You've been taking calls in the bedroom, going out without saying where, and you got defensive when I asked about the dinner you had with someone. That's not normal for us." His jaw tightened. "I'm busy," he said. "That's it." "Busy with what?" I asked. "Work, life, friends, normal stuff," he replied. "Friends," I repeated. "Okay, which friends?" That's when his tone changed. "What is this? Are you interrogating me right now?" He snapped. "Interrogating?" I said carefully. "I'm just asking my boyfriend a straightforward question." He laughed, a short, humorless laugh. "Boyfriend?" he echoed. My stomach dropped. He leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Minnie, you're reading into things. You're assuming stuff," he said. I felt like I was being gaslit. He made it seem like I was the one with the problem. "But why does it feel like you're hiding parts of your life from me?" I asked, forcing my voice not to shake. He stared at me for a long time and then said, "Maybe because you react like this. Maybe because you turn everything into a problem." I felt the room tilt. I realized he was trying to trap me. If I pushed, I'd be seen as crazy. If I asked, I'd be controlling. I swallowed hard and said, "Okay." His expression softened a bit, like he thought he'd won. "Good," he said. "I'm not going to sit here and justify my life because you're insecure." That night, he went to bed early without saying goodnight. I stayed up on the couch, listening to the refrigerator and the traffic outside. By morning, I felt a change in myself. I watched him move around the apartment like nothing had happened. When he kissed my cheek before leaving, it felt rehearsed. 3 days later, he finally ended it. We were in the living room, and he muted the TV. "We need to talk," he said. My heart sank. "I don't think this is working anymore," he said calmly. "I feel like we've been misaligned for a while." I nodded slowly. "Okay." He looked at me like he expected more. "You've been assuming a lot about us, and that's on you," he said. "What do you mean?" I asked, even though I knew. "We were never exclusive." "You just assumed we were," he said. I waited for him to smile, to say it was a joke, but he didn't. "We lived together," I said carefully. "That doesn't automatically mean anything." "Plenty of people live together for convenience," he replied. I thought about all the nights we'd spent together, all the family events we'd attended. I realized he wasn't technically lying, he'd just let me fill in the blanks with hope. "So that's it?" I asked. He shrugged. "I think it's for the best." I could have exploded, but instead, I said, "Okay. I'll move out this weekend." He didn't seem to care. I packed my things quietly and left the furniture we'd bought together. The day I left, he wasn't home. It was his way of avoiding confrontation. After I moved out, the days were a blur. Grief crept in during small moments. I realized how much of myself I'd given to a relationship that only existed in my head. But then, Lily's message changed everything. I was filled with anger, and I knew I had to confront him. I walked for hours, letting my anger build. When I finally felt ready, I unblocked his number and texted him, "I know about the engagement." He immediately asked who told me. I replied that it didn't matter. He tried to downplay it, saying it wasn't what I thought. I laughed out loud. "Really? You've been engaged for 6 months while living with me, splitting rent, and making me believe in a future together. Am I wrong?" He didn't reply. The silence said it all. I blocked his number again. The fallout was swift. Lily texted me a few days later, saying he was losing it, trying to figure out who told me. She admitted it was her. I was grateful. Apparently, once Lily spoke up, the rest of the family started comparing stories. The engagement was called off within a week. Leo lost the apartment, moved back in with his parents, and his friends distanced themselves from him. People have asked me if I feel bad for him, but I don't. I didn't destroy his life, I just told the truth. My life is slowly getting better. I got a small studio apartment, started going to the gym, and reconnected with friends. I learned that assumptions aren't always wrong, but it's wrong to exploit someone's trust for your own gain.